It's been nearly 18 months. We've been keeping track, and Hillary Clinton's blame train is not even close to running out of fuel. It's getting concerning. Well, speaking on Tuesday night at The Wing, which is a women-only club in New York, which, because it's women-only, is not sexist, Clinton began blaming everybody, to the NRA, to misogyny itself, for her defeat in the 2016 election. Here's part of it.
Before the Comey letter, I was ahead. I got more votes than anybody in history except one term of President Obama. Every day that goes by, more evidence, more proof about, fake news and the Russians and Cambridge Analytica and, misogyny and sexism. I've taken on the NRA for years, and they spent more money against me than they've ever spent against anybody. And now we know the Russians paid for some of it, paid for actors or Russian agents, personnel, to dress up in those very attractive jail outfits and go around in a mock jail while people could yell, "Lock her up."
We know who's on MSNBC's website at midnight every night. It's not a political speech. That was more like group therapy. And honestly, the easy thing would be to make fun of Hillary Clinton. Ooh, she's so wrong. But it's past that. This is sad. Will anyone help her? She's crying out for it. Where are her friends, her husband, the DNC? It's like watching someone you know fall apart. It's poignant and tragic, and someone ought to help. Tammy Bruce is a radio host, and she joins us tonight. Tammy, I'm only half joking. Whatever else this is not empowering for women. As the father of 3 daughters, I can say that conclusively.
Right. And look, I mean, there is a point where you never think you'd say this, but you do begin to feel sorry for her.
Yeah.
And as a political person, look, a part of what her complaint was at that event was that Fox News is trying to, quote, impeach her. In other words, that there's coverage of her on this network. There's actually, interestingly, of course, the complaints have come from other Democrats across the networks,
well, exactly.
People who actually worked for her campaign. But she's in a unique opportunity here, in a unique position, where since she is getting coverage and she's clearly is searching for relevance, she could talk about policy.
Yes.
She could use this so that we would actually be discussing an argument that she could be having
that's
about.
Such a smart point. That's right.
And also, frankly, maybe then she would be on the Tucker Carlson show, and you could have this conversation with her.
Because actually, she knows a lot, but she's not stupid, and she's been around a long time. And
exactly.
her claim to fame always was, "I've read the policies, only I." And there's some truth in that, actually. And she could be doing that, but she's not.
She's been in the White House. She's obviously been in the Senate. She's been the Secretary of State, and yet this has devolved into this group therapy dynamic where she's going over the same complaints that people, if they are in that group, maybe they've read her book, they know what her complaints are, but she's also then inserting news of the day, like now suddenly it's the Cambridge Analytica and it's the NRA, because that's the news that's happening now. At this point, it's almost as though she's on an episode of Intervention, where people really should try to get her into the van, to get her to the plane, to get her to the place where she can find some peace, because it does get to a point where that's a real it's almost an abdication of a responsibility she could have to all of her fans and supporters to really deal seriously with the issues, because they too want solutions. And she still, with this great attention internationally, is not using the platform she has to present those solutions. And it's sad, and I think that there could be, even though I would disagree with her solutions, we at least then could move forward on these issues and try to make a difference as feminists.
That's exactly
and as
right.
women.
We could add to the sum total of the conversation, which I think is important, even if you disagree. We try to do it every night. By the way, that's her speaking live. We actually don't have a huge desire to cover everything Hillary Clinton, despite her claim. But I think it's interesting. And can I just make one other point?
Yeah.
The irony, which people are not kind of perceiving, is that her party has moved very far from where she was. We will long for a time when Hillary Clinton was the most radical person in the Democratic Party. She's way too moderate for Democrats by and large right now.
She is, and that actually is an interesting position she could be in arguing the things that she and her husband used to represent, which was balanced budgets and getting people off of welfare and into work and all of that. I mean, if she wanted to be serious, that's what she could be doing. Arguments about how to improve the quality of women's lives. You could argue that she says nobody else has been attacked like her. And nobody else was told to go away like she's been told to go away. But Al Gore and John McCain and John Kerry actually continue to talk about policy. We can disagree with what they stood for, but as a woman, I think that there are so many other opportunities with the platform she has.
Exactly.
And her own party is saying, enough is enough at this point.
Yeah, if one of my kids acted like that, I'd be very upset. Really quickly, so Christian privilege, this is a new category. A seminar at George Washington University here in Washington will examine how Christians get, quote, unmerited perks and have built-in advantages over everybody else in America. If you actually look at the numbers, Christians are not, are actually not thriving in this country.
Yeah.
This is all measured. But what do you make of this? To say this out loud seems like a change.
Well, look, I don't identify as a Christian. I believe in God.
Right.
I believe that Jesus is the guy. I think it's a very serious thing to identify as a Christian, and so I'm taking it seriously and slowly. But as looking from the outside, what I see as a political commentator and analyst is Christians maybe have a privilege of being persecuted and attacked and martyred around the world. I mean, it is a remarkable attack dynamic, even here at home. Facebook had to apologize for refusing a Catholic university's ad that featured Jesus on the cross because it was too violent. Remember the Chick-fil-A controversy, the so-called controversy, because of its owner being a Christian man. Even the attacks that Billy Graham at his death went under because of his Christian faith. So there's no privilege there except, I think, to be mocked.
There isn't. Tammy Bruce, great to see you.
Thank you.